working together. So I hope the board is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, so good morning to everyone once again. Now, this is the diagram which I shared with you in the very first class when we started with the classical system. So this briefly tells you that how employment, output, and income is determined together in this economy. Okay, given all the assumptions, long run, full employment, flexible prices, JB says law. So we first understood the labor market equilibrium, which you can see here in this diagram. If you are able to see that I'm putting a right mark here, you have a production function here in the B part of the diagram, right? So with the given production function, you decide the output level and the employment level together, or they are determined simultaneously, or because every time we are saying that in this macroeconomic system, it is assumed that once you determine the output, you can determine the level of employment and you can determine the level of income. At the same time, you can determine the level of expenditure. So all these variables are determined simultaneously. This is what is shown here, B part. So given the production function, output and employment level are simultaneously determined. And from this diagram, you move to the C part and you decide the labor market equilibrium. Okay, so in this labor market, the real wage is determined. Now what you do is, because in this classical system, it is assumed that supply will always create its own demand and money is only used for the purpose of transaction. So money has only one use, that is the transaction. So how do you show that the role of money is only for transaction? That is through E part. So what we are doing here is that we are taking the level of output from the B part to this E part, and then we are showing this MV line is the demand for money. Okay, supply is given. It is again assumed that supply is given and is determined by the central bank of the country. So says law of market is based on Fisher's transaction approach. For money demand. Which is explained as MV is equal to PT. Now this MV is equal to PT is known as the transaction equation. Okay, in this MV is equal to PT, M is the money stock, M is money stock or quantity of money. V is velocity of money. P is general price level. And T is total transactions. Or this is output. Of goods and services. So you must be remembering this MV is equal to PT. According to this MV is equal to PT theory, we know that there is a direct proportional relationship. There is a direct and proportional relationship between M and P, that is money stock and general price level. So as the money stock goes up, price level also goes up, right? Remember this. Up to now, if you want to understand anything or if you have any question, let me see.
What is velocity of money?
Velocity of money is the V is velocity is number of times any money unit is circulated or used for transaction. This is the way you define velocity. Now, velocity means number of times you are exchanging a particular money unit. Now, what do you mean by money unit? A particular note or coin or currency. How many times the same note, same rupee note is used for transaction, or in other words, the times a particular money unit changes hands. Like today, the 10 rupee note which I have, when I make the transaction, it goes to someone else. Now, when that person makes the transaction, that same 10 rupee note goes to someone else. Then when the third person does the transaction, the same 10 rupee note goes to someone else. So that's how the money is circulated. Okay. So this same money unit is passing through various hands, and that is velocity. So classical system believed that velocity remains constant. Every money unit is used for a given fixed number of times. So in this MV is equal to PT equation, V and T remains constant. They are given. They do not change. So what changes is only money. Okay, and as money changes, it changes the price level. So price level depends on the money stock or the quantity of money. So quantity of money decides the price level. That is the idea here. price level depends on the quantity of money in the classical system. Is it clear? Anyone else? Anything else which you want to understand? Yes,
Why
ma'am.
do we take capital stock in short run here?
Why do we take?
Capital stock in short run.
Say it again.
Ma'am, why do we take capital stock in short run?
Where is the capital stock?
Ma'am, I think it's money.
Say why you are using the two words together? Capital is something different, money is something different, right? And
Yes, ma'am.
where is short run? Where does
Ma'am,
the
actually, I have read in paper third's book. Actually, वहाँ पे एक चैप्टर था उसमें ये लिखा हुआ था.
पहली बात तो कौन सी किताब पढ़ रही हो?
मैम वो पेपर थर्ड की है मनी बैंक की.
कौन सी किताब है
मैम
पेपर
झिंगन
थर्ड?
की है वो वाली.
हाँ, तो जब झिंगन पढ़ रही हो तो पूछो मत.
नहीं मैम, एक्चुअली मेरे पास फॉल सेमेस्टर है, मैं उसी से पढ़.
No, don't try to understand the things which are not given in a proper format. I keep on telling you, try to understand. We are talking about the classical system. Classical system is only based on long run. So there is no question of short run.
Yes, ma'am.
Money and capital is very different. Okay, so we are only talking about money stock here. The money stock which is issued by the central bank of the country and is used for transaction is being circulated with the people. Okay, so when we are saying money stock, what does it mean? From the supply side, what does it mean? Currency in circulation plus demand deposits plus other deposits. So this is what we are talking about. So we are not talking about capital stock. So please don't confuse the class. Anyone else?
Okay, ma'am.
Anything else which you want to understand here?
Transaction is always related to money.
Otherwise, what do you mean by this? I don't understand. Transaction has to be related with money only. When you are saying transaction, it means you are transacting the goods and services with money. That is the assumption with the classical system. Money has no role other than transaction. So money is not remaining. Okay, whatever money is printed, whatever supply or notes and currency coins are printed in the economy, they are used for transaction. Anything else? No. So what is more important for you to understand is the idea which the classical system is proposing or what the Say's law is saying. Say's law of market is based on MV is equal to PT. Okay. Why Say's law exists? That is one question in the system. That why supply will always create its own demand. Supply will create its own demand only because of this MV is equal to PT. So you can say that MV is equal to PT approach is the basic foundation of the classical system. Full employment exists or Say's law exists. Flexibility of prices exists, automatic adjustment exists, all because of MV is equal to PT. So this is one of the most important component of the classical system, right? Where V is constant, T is given, So there is a direct proportional relationship between M and P, money stock and price level. So as the money stock in the economy goes up, price level goes up. As the money stock goes down, price level goes down. Okay. Now, in this classical system, when you use this diagram, this is your production function. Q is a function of KL. Now K is given. Here you take output on the y-axis. On the x-axis you take N, that is level of employment. Okay, and now from here only you are drawing this diagram. Suppose you take this level of output. So you decide the full employment level, N star, that is YF. Okay, now this output level is taken here and MV is given. Okay, this is MV. So once you get the output level as Y1, you can always decide the level of prices. Okay, here you are taking P, that is the general price level. So with the given output level, you decide the price, given this MV. So this is your Say's law. Okay. Now to complete the system, we have understood everything in parts. We have understood that in this classical system, labor demand and labor supply depends on the real wage rate. We have understood that there is a relationship between output and employment, and there is a relationship between savings and interest rate and investment and interest rate. So if you see this diagram, I hope you all are able to see this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
this diagram is the complete classical system. So in your exam, any question related to classical system, when you are writing the answer of that question, this whole diagram has to be drawn. Okay. You can use the diagram separately also, but once you are required to draw the complete diagram, the complete system. So this is the complete classical system. So you start from here. Let me see if you are. Okay, so you start from here. Okay, you first show the output, the level of output through the production function. Then you move here. This is the second part which you are trying to show. And then you move in this direction. And then you show this MV is equal to PT. Okay. Now when you say MV is equal to PT, here you are showing Q. So Q and T are same. Q is the output and T is the total transaction in terms of the quantity. Now this part is separate. Okay, this part is separate because it is saying saving is a function of interest rate and investment is a function of interest rate. Now here it is a positive relationship, here it is a negative relationship. investment inversely depends on R, and saving positively depends on R. So when you talk about Say's law of market, please remember that this diagram, and this diagram is very important for you to draw. Okay? And this explains completely that why supply creates its own demand. Once output is determined with a given money supply, your price level is determined, and at the same time, saving and investment both are the function of interest rate. So it is all given. Again, it is assumed that it is all given. Okay, so you want to understand this MV graph. See, MV means demand for money. Okay, now demand for money is given. Now let me make one thing clear for you, that in the long run, we are assuming that some variables will be given. Now, when you say some variables are given, actually what does it mean? It means that within the time or within the system, you are not changing this variable. Whatever level is achieved, that remains fixed for the time. So in this system, you can change the level of output, or you can change the level of employment, you can change the level of demand for labor or the supply of labor. But what you are saying is that money supply is given, and demand for money depends on the level of output. So demand for money is not an independent variable, but it is a dependent variable which depends on the level of output. So whatever is the level of output, that much money will be required to make the transaction. Okay, so in other words, you can say that demand for money does not have an active role in the classical system. It is only for the classical system you are assuming that this MV is given. MV indicates the demand for money. Please remember, supply is already given. Now this MV is demand for money. So demand for money depends on the output level. And with a given level of output, if the demand for money is shown through this diagram, you can say that as the level of output reduces, price goes up, general price level goes up, and as the level of output increases, the price level comes down. And this is very obvious because we know that higher the quantity, lower will be the price, and lower the quantity, higher will be the price. So that is explained through this MV. So MV curve indicates the demand for money, but it is playing a passive role in the classical system. Okay, I want you all to pay attention to the idea of variables remaining active or behaving passively in the system. क्लासिकल सिस्टम में कुछ वेरिएबल्स ऐसे हैं जो कि ज़्यादा एक्टिव रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं, जैसे क्या, लेवल ऑफ आउटपुट, लेबर मार्केट इक्विटी. And there are certain variables which are playing inactive role. They exist, but they depend on someone else, some other variable. Okay, so that one variable is the money demand. Demand for money is only for the sake of transaction, and that's how you show it in the E part of the diagram. Okay, so is someone saying anything? I hope now it is clear.
Ma'am,
Hmm.
the saving and investment function can't cut each other at negative interest rate.
No, never. Remember this, that every time we are talking about prices, prices, what prices means? Prices means prices of goods and services, prices of labor, prices for capital, or prices for factors. All prices are always positive. All prices are always positive. Positive. That means greater than zero. Every time greater than zero. That is compulsory. Okay, price cannot be negative. There can be no zero price and there can be no negative price. So all the variables will always have a positive price. Every factor will have a positive price. So it is believed in the classical system. Now I keep on telling you that Say's law says that whatever output is produced, it is all consumed. Okay, so supply creates its own demand and there is no overproduction or underproduction or unsold goods and services, because there is one more thing which you can understand here. You say y is equal to C plus S. So total income is distributed as consumption goods plus savings goods. So there is no role for money other than transaction. Whenever you have income, you will either be using your income to purchase consumption goods, or either you will be using the income to purchase saving goods. You can say these are the capital goods, you can say these are the investment goods, you can say these are the loanable funds. There are different names which we can use. So what we are doing is we are either purchasing goods and services for our consumption purposes or for our saving purpose. So either we will use our money to purchase goods and services, or either we will keep in the bank in the savings account. So there is no leakage here. Okay, all the money is remaining in the system. So there is nothing going out in the outside the system. It is all y is equal to C plus S. It remains within the circle. So that's how you say supply creates its own demand. Now when output takes place, either it is demanded in form of consumption goods or either it is demanded in form of saving goods. So that's how JB says that supply always creates its own demand. So, and again, automatic adjustment will take place in this savings and investment situation also. So every time the interest rate goes up, saving goes up, and interest rate comes down, savings comes down. So as the output level increases, your savings will increase. Or as the output level decreases, savings will decrease. So you should try to understand here that all the variables in the classical system, they depend on the level of output. The most important factor or the most important variable in the classical system is the level of output. So once the level of output is given, all the other variables can be decided. Now one diagram which is left for us is this part of the diagram. Okay, try to see here. Now you move in this direction. Once you have decided the level of P for the economy, money wage can also be determined. So in this D part of the diagram, we are showing the relationship between money wage and the price level. And this is shown by an upward sloping line. Now this upward sloping line shows a positive relationship between money wage and the price level. As the price level rises, the money wage rises. And the slope of this line is equal to real wage. So the slope of this line indicates the real wage. Okay. So if this line moves in this direction, it means real wages increases. If it moves in the downward direction, it means real wages decreases. But this line will not change in this system. What will change is money wages and price level if there is any change in MV. Okay. So now through this system, through this diagram, there is another important conclusion. What is the important conclusion? Real variables are not affected by monetary variables. This whole diagram, that is five part diagram, tells you that real variables are not affected by the monetary variables, or monetary variables are not affected by the real variables. So real variables will affect only real variables, monetary variables will only affect monetary variables. Now, what do you mean by real variable? What do you mean by monetary variable in the classical system? Real variables monetary variables. Real variables means output, demand for labor, supply of labor, employment level, real wage rate, savings, investment, interest rate, all are these real variables. In the classical system only, please remember, we are only talking about the classical system. When you talk about monetary variables, it means money stock or the money supply, general price level, aggregate demand. money wages, nominal interest rate, okay, so these are monetary variables. Now monetary variables cannot affect real variables, because I told you most of the time we are assuming that money supply is given, money stock is given. It does not depend on the level of output or demand for labor or savings and investment. It is decided by the central bank of the country, so it cannot affect the variables. मनी सप्लाई को चेंज करके आप आउटपुट लेवल को चेंज नहीं कर सकते अकॉर्डिंग टू द क्लासिकल सिस्टम, बिकॉज मॉनेटरी वेरिएबल्स कैन अफेक्ट ओनली मॉनेटरी वेरिएबल. By changing the money stock, you can only affect the price level. So there is no relationship between the monetary variables and real variables. Real variables are affected by real variables only. How does output changes in the economy? Output will change when you change the level of employment. Otherwise, there is no change in the output. How does employment changes? If you change the level of output, employment will change. How demand for labor or demand for goods and services will change? That will again depend on employment level or output level. Savings and investment, how will it change? It will change only if the real interest rate is changing. If the money supply is changing, savings and investment will not be affected. So there is a separation between real variables and monetary variables in the classical system. And this is what is reflected with the diagram, the last 5-part diagram. You can see that if we go back and try to see this, you will find that E and D are reflecting the monetary variables, and C, B and A are reflecting the real variables. Okay, so this side you have real variables, this side you have real variables, all these are real variables, and this is the monetary variable. So they do not have any dependence. The only relationship is between quantity of money and the level of output. So quantity of money depends on the level of output. Now, if you have understood this, maybe we can see a shift in the diagram. Are you able to understand? Any question? So now the question is that how aggregate demand will be monetary variable. In the classical system, it is assumed that demand is always a monetary variable, because why demand? Or what is demand for? So aggregate demand is just equal to PT. P is price level and T is total quantity of transaction. Now what is transactions? Transactions of goods and services. So if you multiply the quantity of output by prices, that will give you the aggregate demand. And this is only in terms of monetary variable. Why? Because it is just the reflection of use of money for transaction purposes only. So because your aggregate demand component is explained as demand for goods and services only, which is for the consumption purpose. So for these transactions only you are using the money. And that is why you are saying that aggregate demand is a monetary variable here. So aggregate demand is what? Aggregate demand is total expenditure on consumption or capital goods. So it is nothing else, but it is only the expenditure. So that means how much you will spend. Quantity multiplied by price will give you the level of total transactions. AD is total transactions in the economy. Value of the total transactions in the economy. Okay. And it is only that the classical system is assuming this, that aggregate demand is a monetary variable. Other than the classical system, no other economist believe or assume that aggregate demand is a monetary variable. But it was only classical system where they were assuming that what is important is supply or the output level, that is Q, which depends on the production function. But aggregate demand is just a monetary variable which depends on the level of output itself. And this is explained very detailed in your MV is equal to PT theory. In the MV is equal to PT theory, there is one assumption which is very important. Total output or total transactions is given at any point of time. So in that way, your aggregate demand is also given at any point of time. If you change the level of aggregate demand, nothing will change in the economy except the prices. Okay. And aggregate demand will change only if you are changing the money supply. So that's how it becomes a monetary variable in the classical system. We should remember that how classical system is explaining you C and S. C, that is consumption, and S, that is savings. So any individual will either use its income for consumption of goods and services, or if it is not using the goods, the income for consumption of goods and services, it will purchase capital goods from that income. So again, that income does not remain idle with the individual. And why savings and why savings or capital goods? Because in order to consume in future. So again, the only activity which is taking place in the economy is consumption of goods and services, whether it is of consumption nature or whether it is of capital nature, both. So that is how you say that leakages and withdrawals, leakages and injections are always equal to each other. Whatever savings will take place, that will immediately turn into investment. Y is equal to C plus S and Y is equal to C plus I. And therefore, S is equal to I. So leakage always equal to injection. So now we have completed the classical system. So tomorrow we will start with the Keynesian system. Okay. So if you have any more question, let me know. In the classical system, if you want to understand anything else, or if there is any query related to classical.
Ma'am,
Yes.
what is the difference between prices and wages?
There is a difference between prices and wages. Price is price of goods and services. Okay. Now there are two ways in which you are reflecting the prices. When you say prices, there are two ways in which you are reflecting the prices. Prices in real terms or prices in nominal terms. Nominal terms. Okay. Or you are saying monetary terms. So nominal price means money wages. Or nominal prices means price for goods and services. Price for goods and services. Or price for capital. But when you try to understand the nominal value in terms of the purchasing power, then it becomes the real. Okay. So if you are talking about money wages, that is 100 rupees or 200 rupees or 500 rupees, then it is the money wages. But what is the actual capacity of this 100 rupees or 500 rupees which it can purchase? So then it becomes real wages. When you are talking about purchasing capacity, real is related to purchasing capacity. So that's how you talk about real wages or interest rate. Real interest rate. So when you say nominal prices, there are three: money wages, prices for goods and services, and prices for capital. But when you say real prices, it is real wages or real interest rate. There are two things. Okay, so let me end the class here. We'll meet tomorrow.
हेलो मैम, एक क्वेश्चन है
बेटा कल बात करेंगे.
मैम.
और
क्लासिकल इकोनॉमिक्स.
Ma'am, how can injection be equal to leakage?
I explained that in the circular flow of income. आपको देखिए बार बार कह रहे हैं, अगर आपको कोई बात नहीं समझ में आ रही या तो आप टेलीग्राम पे अपना क्वेश्चन डालिए, यूट्यूब पे जो वीडियो पड़े हुए हैं वो देखने की कोशिश करिए मेरे चैनल पे, और नहीं तो वील टॉक टुमारो.